Welcome to Once Upon a Coin, documenting the ongoing history of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And as always, I'm your storyteller, Jason Cassidy. When a detective is on a case, searching for something or someone, and they can't turn up any useful leads, eventually they may say that the case has gone cold. In the crypto world, you ought to view anyone that you don't implicitly trust as a potential threat. One way that you can ensure you don't lose any sleep at night worrying over safeguarding your precious coins is employing the proper security practices. When would-be hackers try to pry their way into your digital wallet, if you've done your homework, guess what? They will eventually run out of leads, and the case will go cold. Ice cold. And that's because you would have secured your coinage in the ultimate freezer. This is the story of cold storage.
Sun cast a shadow, a digital line is coming over the mountain and over your mind. Double down your Bitcoin, hang on for the ride. We're moving into the future, one block at a time. One block at a time.
The really awesome part about this tale is that it's educational. So if you've already got a good handle on securing your coinage, then you can sit back and enjoy the nostalgia ride. And conversely, if you're relatively new to crypto, then this is the place you want to be because it's going to greatly raise your IQ and thus confidence around securing your cryptocurrency. Okay, let's start with a very quick primer here. Your cryptocurrency is stored in a wallet that has a private key that goes along with it, plus a lot of other really techie stuff. What's important to appreciate here is that it's your private key that protects your coins. That's what gives you access to your wallet, and thus you always want to protect the private key. Wallets that are online and connected to the internet are considered hot in the sense that they could potentially be accessed by a hacker remotely. Cold wallets are the exact opposite, with no active connections to the internet and thus no access to the private key. And with no active internet connection, this basically limits thefts and hacks to the physical realm exclusively. So while this method of storing digital currency offers some superior security assurances, it also comes with some pretty high technical barriers. Said another way, one has to be technically competent enough to employ more advanced security practices. Okay, so now that we've got the background covered on taking a temperature check on crypto, let's just jump into the main course. In the early days of cryptocurrency, there was only Bitcoin, and with it, the Satoshi wallet, which Satoshi Nakamoto created himself. This would eventually evolve to be rebranded as the Bitcoin QT wallet, and then later on see its name changed to its current incarnation, Bitcoin Core. The concept of cold storage really wasn't popularized at the very beginning of cryptocurrency because, as we just addressed, it was only Bitcoin and Bitcoin just wasn't worth much money at all. And of course, this created an environment with early adopters where security wasn't the top of their minds because what were they securing? This is why there are numerous early adopters of Bitcoin from back in the day that have permanently lost coins. To fully appreciate what I'm saying here, you have to put yourself into the mindset that existed around Bitcoin back in the day. There was no HODL or store of value conversations happening yet. Heck, I don't even think there were many accurate price charts, and there was definitely only a few trusted exchanges available at the time. You know, we actually have an entire episode already out there dedicated to unwinding the crazy events that took place in the early days of crypto. So once you're done watching this episode, you should probably go ahead and watch the story of Crypto Nightmares. Long story short, outside of some true hardcore believers, the prehistoric days of Bitcoin as a time period, when it came to security, it literally just wasn't worth it for most. It actually wasn't until the crazy, unhinged bull market of 2013 that people started to take security more seriously when it came to crypto. As the price just kept going up, more and more eyeballs were now fixated on Bitcoin. And as Bitcoin had more attention being paid to it, the FOMO, or fear of missing out, just kept building up and up and up. To put things into perspective, At the start of 2013, Bitcoin had a price of around $13 US in January. But before year's end, Bitcoin would eclipse the $1,200 US mark per coin. Unsurprisingly, this shocked the world. And it also gave investors an entirely new asset class to now consider. It also gave opportunistic thieves a new market to target, one that was quite lucrative, young, and thus pretty easy to exploit with very little effort required. By the time the calendar had flipped over to 2014, a whole new cohort of users had shown up, and not all of them had good intentions. By February, shit had officially hit the fan, and everyone got an up-close and personal reminder on why crypto security was now going to be a big thing. The Mt. Gox collapse was truly a watershed moment in cryptocurrency history, wiping out a huge chunk of investors in the process. If you were involved in Bitcoin back then, you already know exactly what I mean when I say this was a very scary and difficult time. A lot of people were rightfully fearful that this was actually the end of crypto. It was that bad. However, miraculously, the industry did manage to hang on and survive. So really, it's no surprise that it was this year in 2014 that companies and products started coming out that were catering to higher levels of crypto security. On July 29th, serious cryptonauts were finally offered a solution that would allow them to take their security practices to the next level. Trezor, a company that's completely focused around protecting your crypto, released their initial product called the Trezor One. This was a new type of wallet in that it was hardware-based opposed to software-based. It wasn't an app or some .exe file that you download onto your laptop or smartphone. This was a physical device that you could hold in your hand, and inside of it, it contained a crypto wallet. Your Bitcoin could now live in the offline world, and only when you wanted to complete a Bitcoin transaction would you actually have to connect your Trezor online. And once your Trezor was connected to the internet, there were several security precautions put in place to ensure that you had a very smooth and secure experience. This meant that the private key that was protecting your Bitcoin would have limited exposure to hackers that were looking to get their hands on something that wasn't theirs. Cold storage was now starting to become a more common term, as people were being exposed to products and services that were now exclusively focusing on this line of defense. Before year's end, another top hardware wallet manufacturer had entered the scene, and they were called Ledger, with their first offering, the Nano. This was the equivalent of a USB stick on steroids from a security perspective. This meant that you could probably walk through airport security with an ungodly amount of Bitcoin on you, and no one would be the wiser. It blended in with current technology. Another early version of cold storage that still works wonders to this very day, in fact, are the paper and brain wallets. This can be done by generating a wallet offline, giving the user access to both the private and public key pairs. Your public key is your address or addresses that you would have people send Bitcoin to when you wanted to receive some. And the private key is the part that you want to keep safe because that's what allows you to access your coins in your wallet. As long as you generated the key pair offline, you were safe. Another form of stone cold coin storage. And an even more do-it-yourself option that has a bit of a James Bond feel to it is the brain wallet. If you really wanted to be the master of your own domain and employ a bit of swagger in the process, then you were probably using a brain wallet. In essence, the brain wallet is basically a private key put into a format that you can memorize. You will eventually hear the term seed phrase, which is a series of generic words that you can either write down and or memorize as the wallet owner. This series of seemingly random words like horse, battery, car make up a very memorable version of your private key. And yeah, you might be catching on to what this means. You can travel the entire world with the entire contents of your crypto wallet right in your head. When the time comes that you want to access your coins, you simply download a wallet and choose the option of restoring an existing wallet by importing your seed phrase. And by inputting these words in the right order, spelt correctly, you magically unlock your crypto holdings. By the time the bull market of 2017 arrived, Bitcoin had a lot of other competitors, including Ethereum. The prices of nearly everything skyrocketed to euphoric levels, bringing in another round of villainous thieves looking for an easy catch. Exchanges were becoming the target of these cryptographic poachers more and more with each passing year. With Bitcoin almost eclipsing the 20,000 US dollar mark per coin, the temptation was simply too much for some savvy crooks when it came to trying to pry coins out of unsuspecting users' hands. These high-profile hacks eventually forced crypto exchanges to start employing more advanced security practices like cold storage. This meant that the exchange would only move funds into a hot wallet when it was required to fulfill withdrawal requests. Otherwise, that money was ice cold. Yes, fair enough, it was a bit more work for the company, but it also greatly reduced the risks that they were exposing their customers and their livelihoods to. But if you were an exchange, just a crypto investor, you could get really techie too and employ some more advanced security practices yourself. One option was creating Bitcoin or other supported cryptocurrency transactions using the Electrum wallet. This meant that the transaction would be created offline, but would then be moved to another version of Electrum that was online to sign and then broadcast the transaction across the Bitcoin network. Once again, this method took a lot more initial technological setup, but once it was done, you were pretty damn safe. When the great bull market of 2021 arrived, which featured NFTs or non-fungible tokens as the hot new item, crypto security kept evolving. More sophisticated forms of cold storage were coming to market. The higher the prices of your assets, the greater the stakes involved in keeping them secure. Today, you can pretty much Fort Knox the living shite out of your coins if you're motivated enough. Whether it's buying some really cool looking physical crypto coins, employing a hardware wallet, or entrusting your memory to safeguard your entire net worth of cryptocurrency, the trend is clear. As the prices of cryptocurrency assets go up, the number of options out there for you to protect your money keep on growing. Now, on a closing note, I want to reinforce the true message behind this episode.
It's not about money, it's about sending a message.
There are so many bells and whistles in crypto now that it is very easy to become overwhelmed. So before jumping in headfirst into the deep end of the blockchain world, get comfortable first with the basics of security practices when it comes to crypto. This means putting strong passwords in all your wallets, making multiple backups of all your private keys, and most importantly, do not visit websites by clicking on them directly through some sort of trading group or email link. Navigate to them by the URL and type it in yourself. After 13 straight years of living and breathing crypto day in and day out at the professional level, I can tell you one thing with certainty. The one thing that people still get wrong is underestimating the veracity or effectiveness of their crypto security setup. Always make the extra effort. Use common sense, and when in doubt, trust your gut. If a situation doesn't feel right, especially in the era of artificial intelligence where voices and faces can be replicated, it's probably because it's not right. Besides, your gut helped you get this far, right? So just keep listening to it. It's always got your best intentions in mind. I hope you've enjoyed today's stroll down memory lane. Until next time, have fun and enjoy life, my friends. I'll be back soon with another incredible story to tell you.